Okay, we get a little noise in the house, but otherwise I'm just showing a pretty simple script to build a kind of walled structural system on a surface edit. Um, I got a little 3-year-old running around here like mad. Um, that said, it's not too hard to figure out. I'm going to show you the basics of it. Ella's making a ton of sounds. We'll take it over to wireframe to start, and we'll click out of it. You've got a lot of geometries that have been baked in here. There's no point really having them on. Uh, we'll jump into here on this tool and see what we can get. And basically, I'm bringing in a polygon. I am moving that in a direction by a range in the X direction, which I can change and alter. I have another polygon which is much bigger, but what I'm doing to those is I'm doing a polar array with a range on it as well. So I get these really interesting complex geometries that kind of fold, and I have control over whether I want to rotate those in 2π or not. So I have, and it's moving pretty fast because I'm not doing any of the extrusions. But you can bring it all the way around. You can leave it open on one side, whatever you want. You also have control over the size of those, well, the amount of sides on each one. So you can change it to square or pentagon. I kind of like the 3, if I can set it. And you can change the radius of those. So you can make them fairly small so they're barely connected. So some come together and some don't. You also have control over the other polygon. So if you're altering that one, that's going to have some effects on obviously the sides that are there. I'm not sure why I have that in rational numbers. I should have it in integers. And this one's the diameter of that one. But as long as they pair up, what I'm doing with those two is just bringing them together through a region union, region intersection, whatever's inside and whatever's outside. And actually, I like the outside one. As long as I play with the scale and size enough, I can get this to be a kind of interesting wall. And even though this could be another building, all I do is take that and I put it into my curves that I did a test script a couple ago that were just very simply offsetting them and using them as a merge, not just the one curves, but the also offsetted curves. And they built something pretty interesting that if we grab an extrusion between the two of them, which really starts to slow things down, and then we put it through a brep, you've got a simple geometry. You can dispatch, and what I did was dispatch both halves, and I did a solid difference between it, but of course I have to enable it for you to see that. And in doing that, this is where the slowdown is. I think about 6 seconds, so it's not killer weight. We'll pan out if I can. Yeah, you have a little dispatch between it, which is kind of nice. And there, you've got an interesting wall that you can bring in. Let's pop it on there with bake it, and we'll bake it as this series. There we go. And with all this geometry, I'm not sure if I grouped it or not. Yeah, I did. We're going to swap that for what was behind. We're going to select probably this group, get rid of that one, and then we'll bring out the other group that we had. And that was the new one that I put on. So that said, take it into render, click it back into all 4 screens. Maybe leave one on that you want to see in blue, like the outer walls. Downsize this and upsize this. And the one thing I haven't done is I haven't grabbed these geometries and given them a pretty interesting material. So let's just jump in there and grab a material study. Materials. Not sure why I can't add it. What happened here? Yeah, there we go. We're going to add let's add a transparent glass just for fun. And we'll put on, I don't know, maybe a bright orange faded light and just pop that into the image. And there we go. We've got an interesting, but of course we're overriding it with selecting this blue. So if we click on our grasshopper and get rid of it, you'll see we're back to that crystal clear. And that's not really because that's in a fast render. It's always interesting to go from here, I find, and then set it up how you want in a render to some crazy image with these ghosted forms. I'm not much into rendering. I mean, I think mainly modeling is what interests me. The scapes of those. It's always nice to see it from the top a little bit. That's going to be a strange one. And we'll just take it with that little glare. And what we can do is go back into here, and we probably get some things to slow it down. Now, ground plane sunlight's off. Should be fine. I like to leave the rendering curves on to start. let's pop it into ray trace, see how long that takes to convert. And if I was right, we had a let's put on a fast draft render and see what, oh, okay, that's pretty ugly. I'll be the first to admit that. Yeah, we definitely want to get back out of that. And probably the material study of this one would be better done in maybe a plaster, an extremely faded color wheel, almost to nothing, which might be tolerable. And if I went back into render, I mean, you don't have to like my colors. You have to like your colors. Ground plane. Let's get rid of this ugly green. Bring in another fiery orange on top of it, or purple, really faded, or even blue for that matter, very faded. Let's see if that makes a difference on the render a little bit. Pop it back into ray traced, and we'll send it back over to render and see how we like it. It's a very short video just showing a couple things. There it is. The purple's a little too crazy for me still. I don't like all the glass, but that's life if you so choose to do it. And you might want to actually leave this, put it back into something simple, click out and see what else had an appeal to you. Maybe this one on a rendered was actually nice simple study of that from the top view on a surface edit. And who knows what that looks like in a ray traced as well. It's probably the same ugly colors, but might have a better, simpler read of what it is geometrically. And the only thing I can't really stand is the this color. It's just making me puke. All right. And if we could get in there, now we jammed up a little bit with the technical. Let's bring it right down, throw it into a yellow. That should make it tolerable. There you go. Got a nice little render. Pull it out on a fast tool, and you've got these very interesting little bubbled surface planes coming above, and you've got a pretty cool rendering for conceptual drawing for a city. Beats working on graph paper with a piece of pencil. Anyhow, I'm just kind of showing some different techniques of what I do with very simple scripts and how I think about what I'm doing. I hope you like it. Stay tuned. We'll keep developing this city.